Il telamo tisi la farakaton tosin barakita eseid okoro sumarkata kada seid konomoro ara so shiri ara. God is the concept of things to come. And God is the concept of things that have come. And when man would have come to understand these ways, he would have come to know how God is the all that is the all that is in all. Whenever man says the word God, he knows not what he means, for he was not given to know what the word God means. And even when man says that he is made in the image and likeness of God, he has no understanding about what it is he is saying. For he looks at himself and he says, if I look this way, then God must look this way. And while he is correct in what he is saying, he's also wrong in the way in which he's perceiving what he's saying. For he should then ask himself, if God exists as all that exists, then surely all things that exist also have the image and likeness of God. And if all things have the image and likeness of God, then man cannot be in the image and likeness of God, and nothing else can. And so whenever man uses the word God, he's always using it from his limited perspective of who he is. And his perspective of himself is limited because he really does not know who he is. And man could not have known who he is because he did not know how God exists as he exists and as everything else exists. In preaching and teaching the doctrine of truth, we give you to clarify for the children of God why they too did not know who or what the term God means or represents, so that in bringing them into the true consciousness of who or what God means, that the children of your God will come to the true enlightenment of how they are the way they are. The word God represents the omnipotent power that exists and is universal, and it's always in all the world. This omnipotent power that is universal is that which generates from itself everything that is formed in the way in which it gives it to be formed. And so the generating omnipotent power that is called God is that which brings all things into existence. And when it brings it into existence in any possible way that it so wishes it to come into existence. And that is why everything has that likeness in it, because it generates from itself to that which is of itself. So that when man looks around his world and he sees the many trees and the plants and the fruits, he knows that whatever seed is of that fruit, it will generate the fruit that it came from. Man does the same thing. Beasts of the fields do the same thing. Birds of the air do the same thing. And the creatures of the deep do the same thing. Because they are manifesting generations of that omnipotent power. And that omnipotent power is unseen, like the thoughts of men are unseen. So when man begins to think how he makes a car, how he makes a plane, how he makes everything, he makes it from that power that generated from himself. And though it looks the way that it does not look like he is. Because the power has that possibility to bring forth any possibility that exists in it. And that is why with God all things are possible. That omnipotent power that is called ether unknown to man exists in man, and exists in man in what man calls his spirit. It exists in all things that is of spirit. And so when the unseen generating thoughts of men manifest things on the seen level, it is the way in which man is given to recognize that this omnipotent power that is known as ether, that always exists, because he is always thinking. Man is always thinking, whether he sleeps, whether he works, whether he plays, he is always thinking, because that generating power exists as an everlasting power. So in all the ways that man is given to see and to know, he still has no understanding that his own existence is that of a generating omnipotent to which he and everything else becomes subordinated. And that is why if a man makes a car is subordinated to the man. If he produces a fridge, it is subordinate to him. And he can produce them over and over again because of that generating power within him that allows him to be able to make anything possible. So he can not only produce a car, a bicycle, an aeroplane, a boat, a submarine, he can produce anything because that is the power of that generating omnipotent power that exists within him. When man would have been given to know himself, he would have been given to know the way in which that power that is omnipotent and that makes everything subordinate to him exists in him as God. He would have then known why it is that God is the all that is the all. Man could not have known these things because man descended from the pristine, pure, and sublime form of ether to the more degrading ways of nether. So as man decayed, or as he changed, he decayed because he went further and further in the decreasing ways of nether. And it is the decreasing ways of nether that has caused all things to become deformed and corrupted. And so man became corrupt as he began to degrade. And as man degraded from ether to nether, his world decayed around him. So wherever man exists in all the many ways that the manifesting ways of man is revealed to everyone, it is the way in which he is shown. Why it is he lost the way, why it is he went the wrong way, and how it is he ends up in the perishing. So man, the extension of the manifesting ether that was with him, is always the way that he was shown, that he was no longer able to know the things of the divine, because he became further and further detached as he degraded from his pristine state. The children of your God did not know why they were called the children of God. And they were called the children of God because they came from a higher world, and they came with a more sublime form of ether. And it is this sublime form of ether that enabled them to bring about the transformation of that which was dead in the native Levit, Talpit, Tultut, Pultut, Kiltat, Kultut. That is, in that all in all manifesting power. And that is why earth was considered to be the valley of death. That manifesting power was not there, and all of earth was nether. And so when the children came here, they brought the powers that are omnipotent in them, that was ether. And with ether, they were able to transform everything that was in ether into that which was bright and beautiful. Because anything that is of ether makes everything else subordinate to it. So nether is subordinate to ether. And so the children were in the hierarchy of ether. And as such, they were able to do great and marvelous things. And that is why they were gods, because they were manifesting the way in which ether is able to bring about any possibility. And so in all of earth, the children of God manifested this never-ending possibility that exists in the divine ways of ether. And so when we say to you that man uses the word God, 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 and he knows not what God means, it is precisely because man is trapped in the degrading way of nether. And so he could not come up higher, that he may be able to be given the revelation of the true consciousness of God and God in him, and he has God, and everything that exists as God as the all. And these things were not known to men, and the children lost it because they degraded into nether. The redemption that God speaks of is the way in which the children of God are given in the consciousness returned to be able to gravitate towards the higher ethers. And so the names that you have given to them that tell them that they must first call upon that which is in them, that represents the way in which they are, is the way in which we say unto you that the children cannot come to the way of knowing the way of ether, except they call on the ether that is within themselves. For it is this ether that allows man to think. And every man that is in this world today knows that in every way that he is thinking, that he is not controlling what comes into his thinking field. Because ether determines what you think, and it also determines how you feel, and it also determines how you behave. And so every way that God says to man, you have eyes, but you do not see, it is the way in which the ether within brings the consciousness and awareness to man that he is all that ether is. He is nothing else. And when that ether, that is the omnipotent power that exists and always exists, he will have come to recognize that all his physical form is a manifesting way in which ether dictates how it is that this form is. And that is why man is told you can't live without God. That is why man is shown that every way that ether departs from him, he has become a state of nothingness. For all his visible ways are the lesser ways of a degrading ether. And he sees what happens to him when ether departs from him, because his physical structure degrades, or as he says, it decays. So whenever the children come to the true knowledge that there is no other than God, that omnipotent power that generates itself to manifest in whatever way or form or dimension, they would then come to recognize that all seen things are just mere projections that have been vibrating in a debased way of nether. And when they know that they can produce from themselves that which they want, God says, then don't they know why they were told, when you have God, you don't need anything else. And man in his debased state is always looking for everything that is degraded in the nether way in this world. And he did not know that when these things were manifested from him, that they were lesser than he is. He did not know how he had degraded himself in the pursuing the very things that are lesser than himself. And because his consciousness became so distorted, he would cheat and lie and steal, deceive, and kill for all the things that he could have produced from himself, that he has produced from himself, that are lesser than himself. So you must tell our children, all these things you are pursuing, I want this, I want that, I want that. God said, no, no, no. You were given some simple instructions. Find me first in you. Come to know yourself and understand why it is said, I am that I am that I am. You can be whatsoever you wish to be, because that which is in you carry the omnipotent power that gives you any possibility that always exists in you. You must teach them these things, because the children did not know how they went the wrong way and how they ended up in this way. They fuss and fighting among themselves because they do not know that in every way that they have been corrupted in the way of Nether, they have not found the way to become sublime in the oneness of that which is great and mighty in the omnipotent power that is called God. So whenever you tell them you haven't known God, you didn't find God, you found false gods. It is the way in which the distortion that comes about from the degrading way and the debased way of Nether has created within them a consciousness that is also distorted. We have sent you to teach and to preach and to teach and to preach and to teach and to preach. For we have given you to be our way, our truth, and our light. That in all the ways that you will go and all the things that you are given to say, so will the children of God and the tribes of earth come to know what it is you have said to them, and why it is they were all told you went the wrong way. And in every way you have said to the children, I have come that you may go. I have come that you may grow. You can now say to them, I have come that you may be relieved from the burdens of this world, and that you may find a way to become the gods that you were. Ilama olomoti shikita kadanda harabati selakoto humarakana sikaro totono ikirakana harara. In Marakako Sikiti Kitakor Marakako Sikit and Alba Ashalakon Bogoli in the secret of God says, send unto them your redemption lies within you. You are your own salvation. You are your own Savior. For every way that you have been given in this world to learn the things that have been given to you, you have come to the stage of being what you want to be. In the experiencing of sacred knowledge, you will then come to recognize that the key to your transformation lies within you. I am that key that enables you to find your key, to open the doors of enlightenment within you. That in all the ways you come into the true knowledge and consciousness of yourself, you will come into the true nature of God in you. I send you as always peace and blessings and love. I give to you to work always from your heart and never from your head. I say to you always that your utterances are the reflection of God's thoughts that originate from within you, that are manifested from you. I give you to know that in all the ways that I am, so will you be. And in every way that you will walk in the greatness of the lights that are in you, so will you return back to being the light bearers of that generating omnipotent power which subordinates all things unto it as gods.